talk to you about the loom and its role at the time of the Red River Colony. Before the big factories arrived in North America, it was very difficult to get fabric to make blankets, curtains, dishcloths, clothing, etc. So people often had to create their own fabric. Nowadays, you can afford to have around 50 shirts in your closet, since the factories can produce a lot of fabric and a lot of clothing, and materials come from all around the world. Do you think this was the case back then? Not at all. People had around 5 to 6 shirts. To give you an idea of the materials the peasants had access to back then, it was linen and wool. Now today I'm going to talk to you about how to create fabric from sheep's wool, since that's the material we used in this room. First of all, the sheep had to be shorn, and since the sheep were dirty, you had to clean all the wool with soap and water. Once you finished washing all your sheep's wool, it was time to put it in carders. So, as you can see, all you had to do was put the wool directly in the carders, and then you could card the wool just like this in order to get rid of all the knots and debris. See? After the wool was all washed and carded, you could take it and create some strands of wool with it, which could afterwards be passed through the spinning wheel to create long and fine threads of wool. Blue was one of the hardest colors to create, so people would often trade for indigo in the markets if they could afford it. After you had all your threads dyed, you could put them around the vertical warp, and that was used to measure all the threads before they would be placed in the loom. Just placing your threads in the loom could take up to 2 to 7 days, so that's before you can even start making the fabric. And once all the threads were placed and that the loom was well calibrated, you could create fabric by pressing on the petals, and you had to respect the sequence of your model. And before pressing on the next petal, you had to take this shuttle and pass it in between all the threads in order to create fabric. So, as you can see, it wasn't easy to make fabric. It took a lot of time, and that's why people didn't have a lot of clothing back then.